The lights of Sundown Fuel and Diner buzz against the black of the Mojave. 10 o'clock. The air still holds the day's heat, thick enough to taste, and the parking lot is a sea of chrome. 50 motorcycles lined up like teeth. Inside, the jukebox has stopped working, but nobody's fixed it. Nobody needs to. The sound in this room is boots on linoleum, glass bottles clinking, and one voice, louder than the rest, laughing at something that isn't funny. A bell rings over the door. Nobody looks up, except one man, sitting at the counter, whose eyes move first and whose head follows a half-second later. The man who just walked in is not tall, not wide. He wears a plain black jacket, sleeves pushed up, and he crosses the room the way a shadow crosses a wall, without asking permission from the light. He takes a stool at the far end of the counter, orders hot tea from a waitress who looks grateful for something normal to do, and says nothing else. At the biggest table in the room, a man built like a doorway watches him over the rim of a beer bottle. His name is Duke Callahan, and tonight, for reasons that have nothing to do with the stranger, and everything to do with the man sitting 3 stools down from him. A younger rider named Riley, arms crossed, saying nothing, which is somehow louder than if he'd spoken. Duke needs the room to remember exactly who he is. "Hey," Duke says. Not loud, just enough. New guy. The stranger doesn't turn. "I'm talking to you." The room goes quieter, the particular quiet of 49 people deciding all at once that this is worth watching. "There's a rule here," Duke says, standing now, and standing changes the math of the room. 6'6", maybe 280 pounds, forearms like something out of a butcher shop. Anybody passes through Iron Wolf's territory, they pay respect. You know what that looks like? The stranger finally turns on his stool. His face is calm in a way that doesn't match the situation, which is its own kind of unsettling. "I don't know your rule," he says. His accent is unplaceable to most of the room, not quite anywhere they've heard. "It's simple." Duke smiles, and it's a smile built for an audience. "You kneel, right there. Everybody does it, even the tough ones." He glances at Riley when he says it, and only the waitress notices. "I'll pass," the stranger says, and turns back to his tea. The laughter starts in one corner and moves through the room like weather. Nobody in that diner knows it yet. But by the time the dust outside settles again, the fight that's about to happen will last exactly 19 seconds. And it will not end the way a single person in that room expects, including Duke Callahan, who has never in his life needed 19 seconds to finish anything. If you've ever been the smallest person in a room that decided before you said a word exactly how the night was going to go for you, you already know the feeling sitting underneath everything that happens next. That's the story we're telling tonight. If it's a story you already know in your bones, hit subscribe before we go further, because this channel exists for exactly this kind of night. The ones where the room is wrong about who they're looking at. Duke doesn't stand up right away. That's not his style. Instead, he walks, slow, unhurried, letting his boots do the talking on the tile floor, until he's close enough that the stranger has to look up to meet his eyes. "I don't think you heard me," Duke says. "I heard you." "Then get on your knees." The diner has gone fully silent now. Even the cook has stopped at the pass-through window, spatula in hand, waiting. The stranger sets his tea down without spilling a drop, which is its own small, strange detail that the waitress will remember for years. How gently he did it, like the cup mattered more than what was about to happen to him. "Where I come from," he says, standing now. And standing does nothing to change the math of the room. He comes up somewhere around Duke's collarbone. Kneeling means something. It's not a party trick for a room full of strangers. "Where do you come from?" someone calls out, and it's meant as a joke, and half the room laughs. "Hong Kong," the stranger says. "Started training there when I was 13. A style called Wing Chun. You've probably never heard of it." "Never heard of it," Duke agrees and cracks his knuckles, and the room laughs again, because the size difference is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Telling everyone in the room how this ends before it starts, Duke reaches out. Not a punch, not yet. Just a hand meant to close around the stranger's shoulder and put him on the ground the easy way, the way you'd correct a kid. and the hand does not arrive where it's going. The stranger has moved maybe 4 inches. That's all it takes. Duke's hand closes on air, and before his brain has caught up to what happened, there's a palm resting, lightly, almost gently against his sternum. Not a punch, a touch. "You should sit down," the stranger says. Not a threat. Genuinely, almost kindly, like he's talking to someone who's had too much sun. The room does not laugh this time. Duke Callahan has been in more fights than he can count. He's never once had someone tell him to sit down in the middle of one. Like the fight was already finished and he simply hadn't noticed. Something about that lands wrong in his chest, worse than any punch could have. He swings. It's a real swing this time. A right hand with his whole weight behind it. The kind of punch that has ended nights for bigger men than the one standing in front of him. And it meets nothing. The stranger's head simply isn't there anymore, tilted maybe 6 inches to the left, and Duke's own momentum carries him half a step forward into space that used to have a target in it. Someone at the back of the room, who a minute ago was laughing loudest, says quietly, "Wait." Duke resets. Squares up, throws 2 more, a jab, then the same big right hand. And both times the stranger simply isn't where the punch expects him to be, moving with an economy that doesn't look like defense so much as conversation, like he's answering questions Duke hasn't finished asking. Riley, still at the counter, has stopped drinking. He's leaning forward now, elbows on the bar, watching with the specific attention of someone recalculating everything he thought he understood about the man he rides behind. Duke tries a grab, both arms out, meaning to simply wrap the smaller man up and end this with sheer mass, and instead finds his own wrist caught, turned, and his balance borrowed from him so completely that his knee buckles and touches the tile floor before he even understands he's been taken there. Not thrown. Not struck. Just relocated. The way you'd guide a door that was swinging too hard. The room, which had been laughing 90 seconds ago, is now the kind of silent that has weight to it. This is the part of the story where I want you to notice something, because it matters for what's coming. Nobody in that diner has been hit yet. Not once. Everything that's happened so far has been about what didn't happen. The punches that found nothing. The grab that became nothing. That kind of control over your own body and someone else's isn't something you're born with. It's built one repetition at a time for years in rooms nobody's watching. If you've ever wondered what that actually looks like, not the myth, the real training, the discipline underneath moments like this one, I put together something for exactly that curiosity. It's a short free guide of 5 principles this man lived by that most people never hear about, and it's linked below if you want it. No cost, just something I think belongs in your hands if this story means anything to you. Now, back to Duke, still on one knee, about to make the worst decision of his night. Rage does something to a man that fear can't. Duke gets up, and this time there's nothing playful left in his face. Nothing performed for the room. Riley is watching. Everyone is watching. And Duke Callahan, who built an entire identity out of being the largest, hardest thing in any room he walks into, cannot process what his body is telling him. That size in this specific moment, against this specific man, has stopped mattering. He comes forward with everything. A combination meant to overwhelm. Fists moving fast enough that the fluorescent light catches them in strobes. And for the first time, the stranger's feet actually move, sliding, angling, and every single strike finds nothing but the air where he used to be a half second earlier. It isn't luck. It has the rhythm of something rehearsed 10,000 times, though nobody in the diner could tell you that. The exhaustion comes fast. It always does when a man throws everything into strikes that never land. There's no return on the punch. No jolt of contact to ride, just the pure cost of the effort with nothing coming back. Duke's chest is heaving. Sweat has soaked through his shirt. And into the gap left by his own tiring body, the stranger finally moves forward instead of away. One motion. An open palm rises and stops. Stops completely, no follow-through, no impact. 1 inch from Duke's throat. The diner does not breathe. Duke could finish the motion himself. He could step into that hand and end it. He doesn't. Something in the stillness of that palm, the total absence of tremor in it, tells every cell in his body that the fight is already over and has been for a while. His knee gives out. Not a takedown, not a strike. Just a body that has nothing left folding under its own weight. And Duke Callahan goes down onto one knee, in the exact center of the room, in front of the exact 50 people he'd been performing for all night. Nobody laughs. The silence lasts long enough that the cook, still frozen at the pass-through window, finally sets his spatula down. Duke stays on that knee for 3 full seconds before looking up, and when he does, the stranger has already lowered his hand and stepped back, giving him room. Not triumph, just space. "What's your name?" Duke asks. His voice has lost its performance entirely. "Bruce," the stranger says. "Bruce Lee." The name means nothing to most of the room in that moment. This is a man 3 years away from the world knowing his face. A man who trains actors in Los Angeles and gets turned away from roles because studios don't know what to do with him yet. Nobody here has seen a frame of film with him in it. Tonight, he is only the man who didn't kneel. "Why didn't you finish it?" Duke says. Not quite a question. More like he needs to hear the answer to make sense of what just happened to him. Bruce considers this honestly, the way you'd consider a question that deserved better than a quick answer. "Because you didn't need to lose anything else tonight," he says. "You already lost the thing you were actually trying to protect." Duke's jaw tightens. "And what's that?" "Whether he still respects you." Bruce doesn't point. He doesn't need to. Everyone in the room already knows he means Riley. Duke doesn't answer that. He doesn't need to. The answer is sitting on his face, plain as the sweat still running down it. "You made 49 people watch you order a stranger to his knees so one person wouldn't stop believing in you," Bruce says. "That's not strength. That's the loudest version of being afraid I've seen in a long time." For a long moment, nobody in Sundown Fuel and Diner moves. Then Duke, slowly on his own, no hand offered to help him, gets to his feet. He looks at Bruce for a second longer than comfortable. And then he does something none of the 50 men in that room have ever seen him do. He extends his hand, Bruce shakes it. The applause doesn't come from everyone at once. It starts with the cook, who claps once awkwardly like he's not sure it's allowed. Then Riley, quietly without ceremony. Then the rest of the room, not because anyone told them to, but because something in the air had shifted from a fight into something closer to a lesson, and the body knows the difference even when the mind is still catching up. Duke sits back down. He doesn't say much for the rest of the night. Bruce finishes his tea, pays for it himself, and leaves before anyone thinks to ask him anything else. He never comes back to that diner. Most of the 50 men who were in that room never see him again, not in person. Though a few of them, years later, will recognize his face on a movie screen and go quiet in a theater, the way they went quiet in a diner, remembering a night they were sure, until it happened, that they already understood how it would end. 2 years after that night, the Iron Wolves stop asking strangers to kneel. It isn't a rule that gets voted out loud, it simply stops happening, the way traditions built on fear tend to die once the fear runs out of oxygen. Riley takes over leadership from Duke not by challenge, not by a fight in a parking lot, but because the men who ride behind him choose to follow him. Duke is the one who suggests it. What Duke understood on his knee in the middle of that room wasn't that he'd met someone stronger than him. He'd met plenty of strong men. What he understood, the thing that actually changed him, was that he'd spent years mistaking control over other people for control over himself. And the second one was the only kind that had ever actually been missing. If this story changed the way you think about what real strength looks like, that's exactly the kind of thing this channel exists to explore. The moments history almost forgot, where the loudest man in the room wasn't the strongest one in it. There's a lot more of who Bruce Lee actually was underneath nights like this one. How he trained, how he thought, the discipline nobody saw. And I put all of it into a book for people who want to go deeper than a video can take you. It's linked below if you're ready for that. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what impressed you more tonight? The control he had over his own body, or what he chose to do with it once he had Duke on his knee. Some nights, the real fight isn't the one everyone's watching. It's the one happening quietly, inside the person who thought they'd already won.